This is Artistry Ignited. Welcome back to my third video about an update on my ponds outside here. Just added another fern in here which I bought at the local plant shop. I like to buy these ferns in these pots, sort of like this, and then just sort of leave them for a bit in the pot until they get too big, and then I might transfer them into a larger pot, or maybe just transfer them into the bog filter itself. But for now I quite like them just in the pots there, soaking up all the nutrients out of the pond system. This one here is a green flame fern, and it's just going to be left in the pot, sponging up the pond water. I've got some Vallisneria which I grabbed out of the Tetra pond over there, and I've put it inside a terracotta pot which has some water vents in there, some gravel in the bottom, and then I've put some backyard soil in there and then capped it with some propagating sand. And then the Vallisneria will leach the nutrients out of the soil in the pot as well as in the water column as well. And it just looks really nice how it's just grown up to the top like that. All the little platies in here, they're enjoying it. I found this piece of driftwood which was in the pond. It was waterlogged for quite some time, so I've just cut a little split in the wood itself and wedged the Java fern inside there. This is also a piece of Anubias which I had inside in an aquarium inside, and I glued it onto the rock. This is months ago, and it's grown a little bit, so I've moved this outside too, just to see how it goes in some natural sunlight. This little terracotta pot here has got some Brazilian microsword, sort of a carpeting plant in there which I want to grow out in there. And we've also got the sword here still growing. And I've just shoved a bit of Java moss under there to hopefully attach to this piece of wood as well. Not exactly an artistic aquascape, but it's got a sort of an underwater garden look about it with the pots and that, and just the randomisation of aquatic plants. This is just a sort of like a grassy type shrub. They call it fairy lights, which I picked up from Bunnings. Swiss cheese pothos that I've put in here to grow a bit bigger. It was in a smaller pot. Got some caletheas and alocasias that I've put in larger pots so they can get a bit bigger. This one here got a bit of sun damage, so I've moved it here in the shade. Got some this one here, Aglanema. It's got the pink, sort of the pink patterns in there. That gets quite large too, that plant. This is another alocasia. This is the one that appeared halfway across the lawn from that big one over here. Yeah, so that big one there had a runner, like a root runner, and then the root runner had like a little baby one come out from the ground, so I got that off the lawn before it winds up under the lawnmower. And I actually had it growing in the sump in one of my aquariums inside from my recent video that I uploaded. And now that it's grown a bit, I thought I might chuck it out in a pot and let it get big, because these sort of can get about this tall, and I thought when it gets tall it'd just look nice with the leaves sort of overtowering the top of the other plants in the pond here. And this is another type of alocasia. I'm not too sure on the breed of this one. I lost the tag when I got it, but it has this really nice pink textured leaves on it. So I'm not sure how big that one will get. I'm hoping it gets at least to the same size as this one, or even this one. But out of all of them, these elephant ears, or they call them giant elephant ears, they get quite big. This is just a succulent here which I want to grow sort of into a bit of a tree type shape. we'll get back to talking about this pond. I did say in my last video I was going to talk more about this pond. It's an Amazon sword pond with a mixture of other plants using that propagating sand as the capping substrate. Primary substrate was backyard soil, and sort of this is sort of the stuff. You can get it for $5 a bag from Bunnings, and you just give it a good rinse and it works good. And I've got the sort of the Amazon swords in there. This one's starting to emerge out, which is what I want. That's the Anubias pot, which I moved from inside in the bookshelf tank. I've figured that it might grow a little bit better outside. Hopefully immerse out of the water a bit too. Got another little baby Amazon sword there. Still not sure what sort of fish I'll put in here. They definitely have to be ones that don't chop plants up. So far I've had luck with platies not eating plants, and I've had luck with these swordtails not eating plants as well. What I've done here with the bucket pond, or the rope bucket pond, I've put a sort of like a water bridge here, and then I've put an air siphon system in here, a sponge filter, and then sort of as the water rises up with the siphoning effect of the air stone, it'll go across here and it'll go onto a more fine particulate sponge filter and then sort of drip back in the main pond, and then when that fills up it'll just gravity feed across here. This is the lava rock pond, I'll call this one, because of the round lava rocks in here. I just quite like the sort of volcanic substrate style here. I do have a bit of Java moss which is attached to some of these rocks that come from inside in the bookshelf tetra tank. And I've put some Azolia mosquito fern in here. And as you can see, that's only been in there a day and it's already got two little sort of babies come off there. And hopefully that'll sort of take over and carpet that. It's a really good plant for removing those excess nutrients in ponds. Similar to this Salvinia, it just sort of takes over and carpets up the whole surface of the water, keeping the water clean from excess nutrients. Also, it allows a little bit of shade for your fish, and it keeps the fish hidden from prying eyes of birds and that. Not that birds would necessarily come under the awning here, but you never know. It's always good to be safe. Eventually, when the platies figure out how to swim across this water bridge, I'm hoping that these lilies might carpet the top here a bit too. I've got some Vallisneria, which 2 weeks ago when I did my last video on this pond, you couldn't see it. It suddenly just rocketed up the top there. I've got another lily coming out there. But yeah, that's my general update on what's happening with the ponds outside at the moment. And oh yes, I did mention the cherry bulbs went into that pond over there, because 2 of the females have got eggs and I'm hoping they breed in there, and they should get some nice warm sun there throughout the day as well, so it warms up the pond for them. That way they're not going into that acclimation shock, because we are in the warmer months at the moment. I do have a heating system running in this pond. It is quite large, but I have it on the bare minimum of 20 degrees, simply so the fish can acclimate to the cold a little bit, but also not go into a temperature shock. When they get into that cold temperature shock, these tropical fish tend to be more prone to fungal infections and things like that. There is just one more thing I'll waffle on about. I changed up this was a grow out filter for plants, but I've changed it into another bog filter to sort of cap on the top, or sort of a secondary bog filter that runs off after this main one here. And I've move the cattail reed in here. Hopefully that'll sort of have the rhizomes of itself come out and shoot up. And then I've also got some Boston fern in here helping with the nutrients. And I've got this pennywort plant which died off in one of the other ponds, so I've replanted it here. And as you can see, the leaves are starting to come back again, so quite happy I saved that one. And this was actually just an old pot I had lying in the shed, and I actually dropped it on the ground when I was moving stuff around and cracked it, so I've just used some silicone there to fix it up and a bit of super glue in between, and it's holding up real nice. Also this Hedera ivy eventually will take over, hopefully grow along this log here, sort of blending in the whole nature takeover look. This is a nice plant to have around ponds, but you do have to maintain it or it can go ridiculously crazy and just take over, much like a lot of those vine crawling type plants. So there you have it. That's my update on my ponds outside. Thank you for hearing me waffle on and on again. It's kind of a habit that I have when I talk about nature. Much appreciated. It'd be good if you could support my channel and, you know, like, comment, subscribe, you know, the usual rigmarole, the usual caper. Anyway, that's Artistry Ignited again. Tune in again soon.